call for nationwide strike despite court order, and DR Congo opposition leaders hold talks in South Africa. We'll also be crossing over to Arrie Houggard in South Africa, who will be updating us on the latest news over there. Do stay tuned for these and more news on Africa Good Morning.
Now let's get into our top stories. A Zimbabwe opposition activist has been found dead after he was abducted on Saturday during a political campaign just outside Harare, the Citizens Coalition for Change party said late on Monday, this being the second abduction in weeks of an opposition party member. Tafumane Masaya was reportedly bundled into a vehicle by unknown men while campaigning for main opposition party CCC's candidate ahead of by-elections on December 9, the party said. CCC spokesperson Promise Mkwananzi told Reuters on Tuesday that Masaya was tortured and dumped on the outskirts of Harare. Masaya's body was later moved to a mortuary at Parirenyato Hospital, about 5 kilometers central Harare, where it was identified by CCC members who had been searching for him, Mkwananzi said. Now, Zimbabwe has a long history of forced disappearances and deaths of political activists dating back to the 80s. The opposition has often accused the ruling ZANU-PF party of torture and the death of its activists.
In our next story, Nigeria's two largest labor unions, the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, have declared an indefinite nationwide strike starting Tuesday after defying a court order. Now, the unions are protesting against the soaring cost of living and increased fuel prices. The main contention revolves around the government's decision to abolish a long-standing petrol subsidy aimed at maintaining low fuel prices. Despite the government's assertion that this move is necessary for financial stability and funding social projects, the NLC and TUC are demanding a reversal of the decision. President Bola Tinubu has been the focus of their appeals, with the unions urging him to address their concerns, including a call for a minimum monthly wage increase to at least $120, up from the current $36, citing the adverse impact of what they term as anti-people economic policies.
Now, envoys of DR Congo's top opposition leaders arrived in South Africa to discuss coordinating ahead of an upcoming election in the Central African country, officials said. President Felix Tshisekedi, the incumbent, is running for a second term in the 20 December poll. Many analysts view the president as likely to win the vote. Now, on Monday, envoys representing 5 major opposition politicians who are all contesting the upcoming elections arrived in South Africa's administrative capital, Pretoria, for talks. They included envoys of Moise Katumbi, a wealthy business and former governor of ex-Katanga province, ex-presidential candidate Martin Fayulu, former Prime Minister Augustine Matata Ponya, Deli Sesanga, an MP, and the 2018 Nobel Peace Prize winner Denis Mukwege.
Now, the trial over a 2009 massacre in Guinea resumed on Monday following a recent jailbreak that saw armed commandos free ex-dictator Musa Dadis Camara and 3 others, leaving 9 dead. The incident, which occurred 9 days ago, raised concerns about the possible interruption of the trial, which opened in 2022 after more than a decade-long wait for the victims. 3 of the accused, including Dadis Camara, were recaptured on the same day as the jailbreak, while Colonel Claude Pivi remains at large. The individuals are facing charges related to a massacre committed at a political rally in 2009 during Dadis Camara's presidency, marking one of the darkest chapters in Guinea's history. The prison raid on November 4th, orchestrated by armed commandos, heightened fears of trial disruption. However, on Monday, the trial resumed after a 3-week suspension for unrelated reasons.
Now moving over to the Middle East, Palestinians trapped inside Gaza's biggest hospital were digging a mass grave yesterday to bury patients who died under Israeli encirclement, and said no plan was in place to evacuate babies despite Israel announcing an offer to send portable incubators. Israeli forces have surrounded Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City, which they say sits atop an underground headquarters of Hamas militants. Now Hamas, Gaza's ruling Islamist group, denies fighters are present and says 650 patients and 5,000 to 7,000 other displaced civilians are trapped inside the hospital grounds under constant fire from snipers and drones. Those have been our top stories. We're going to swing over to Arrie Houggard after the break as we talk about the upcoming elections in South Africa and more.
Win a double trolley dash in our birthday bonanza while saving on these. Get 750-gram Nola Street-style mayo for $27.99. 1 liter Clover New Mel for just $15.99. 500-gram Bacomo cornflakes for just $29.99. 2 times 1.25 liter Coca-Cola for $24.99. And 5 kg Top Score Super Maize for $59.99. See the details of our incredible double trolley dash competition at www.vurmanbrock.com.
The general election scheduled for 2024, South Africa prepares for the first voter registration opportunity on the 18th and 19th of November. Here to bring us this story and more news from South Africa is Arrie Houggard. Good morning, Good morning, Arrie.
Yes, good morning, Lenora. Yes, lovely day in Cape Town, quite hot in Cape Town. We're not used to that, but that's summertime coming closer. But yes, elections time coming up. It will be no date confirmed. It is President Ramaphosa, but that must still confirm that. It's in a window of May to August next year, so it must still be confirmed. But what's happening at the moment already is there's registration for voters starting on the 18th and the 19th of November. So it's the first time for people to register that's not on the list at the moment. And so it's next year it's going to be the 30th year since independence, so to speak. Yes, it's independence. It was 1994, and it is now 2024. Of course, it is the big election, national elections, and that is Mr. Sai Mamavola. He is the CEO of the Electoral Commission, so important job for him. He needs to get 300,000 voting staff ready for the big elections. So it's lots of people to vote. At the moment, it's 26.2 million voters that's registered in South Africa. Interestingly enough, I saw that there's 14.4 million women registered and just 11.6 million men. So maybe the women are better at registering. And but the important component for all the political parties are the younger voters. So the age between 30 and 39, there's 3.7 million voters just there. And so it is important for those voters to register, well, actually to go and vote. I think that's a challenge for all the parties at the moment. But all of a sudden, we find it around us. Everybody.
Oh, certainly, and we've been seeing the campaigns flying about. I think actually I saw someone who created an application which is like a dating app for the political parties. So you click it and then you see EFF's policies and so on and so forth. You know, yes, again, evidence that the young ones are really going to be taking this election by the horns. But let's move over. Transnet is currently unable to service its debts. How is this affecting state-owned enterprises?
Yeah, it's a massive challenge for South Africa, and I think it's all of a sudden it's creating opportunities for entrepreneurs. Of course, when things don't go well, entrepreneurs move in there and they take that space. But it's uncertain how long South Africa can service those debts. So Moody's Investors Service, they have a rating system that's very well respected all over the world. It's not to be negative, but it's happening all over the world. It's just giving an indication of the ability of a state entity to pay back the debt. So at the moment, it is Transnet that really struggles to service their current debt. They need to make plan A, B, and C. And unfortunately, the finance minister, Minister Enoch Godongwana, he stated that the Treasury, which is the government basically, will not give debt support to Transnet again. So at the moment, it's high numbers, 135 billion rand of debt just at Transnet. collectively, the challenge for South Africa is that you also have South African Airways and Eskom and Telkom and the Post Office, and collectively, South Africa need to service 692 billion rand of debt just between all those state entities, and they're not getting enough money in, so there's lots of challenges there for them to be productive. Well, there's things happening, but they need to make some money. So it is a concern for South Africa. You cannot have that much debt. For instance, Post Office, they have assets of it's 12 billion, the difference between the assets and their responsibilities. So it is a big challenge for South Africa on that. And hopefully they will find a way in the new year to fix that.
Now, in your next story, I understand the shortage of eggs will continue to persist in South Africa for the next 6 months. That's definitely worrisome. Can you get into this?
Yeah, there's lots of initiatives to fight the bird flu and not to have the same effect again. It happens all over the world as well. There's a shortage of eggs. So the SA Poultry Association General Manager, that is Mr. Isak Breitenbach, he said that it will still take at least 6 months for the shortage of eggs to be worked away. But the reality is that high volumes of poultry, unfortunately, had to put out, be killed, basically. So it's 6 million layer birds that was killed, and 3 million breeder birds. So that's a lot of birds, unfortunately, that needs to be replaced. But they're concerned about the way the virus works. They call it the H7, and there's a H5. So the bird flu is a challenge, and so they're trying to find ways to also fight that in South Africa. So they're making progress there, but it is a challenge. But there's still a shortage of eggs. We don't see it too much in the shop. We just know it's more expensive. That's what normally happens. When it's less of a thing, then it gets more expensive.
I hear that. Now, following the prominence of Banyana Banyana on the international stage, the dominance of the Springboks on the international stage, Bafana Bafana, who arguably have had a more potent name over the years, are saying they want to follow these footsteps. Do they have what it takes, Arrie?
Yes, we believe the infrastructure and the players are there. They've got Hugo Bruce, their new coach, or the coach that's quite positive that they can make it again. We're positive about that, but there was pressure in the media conference with Percy Tau, the captain, and obviously he was reminded about all the success around him. Obviously the rugby is well documented, the Banyana winning African Cup of Nations, the women, and also the cricket team, South African women's cricket team playing in the final of the T20 series in South Africa, and the South African cricket team playing tomorrow in the semi-finals, the World Cup. So it's tough for them to do similar things in the World Cup, at least for them now, try and qualify for the World Cup. So that's the big thing. World Cup 2026 in the Americas, and the last time South Africa qualified for World Cup was 2006 in Germany. 2010 we played in it because we hosted it, but so it's lots of pressure to qualify. Big game coming up this weekend in Durban against Benin. That's the start they need. They've got motivation now around them of success. So hopefully we're all behind them. So we know that the soccer team, they showed in the 1996 winning African Cup of Nations. Hopefully they can do it again. But
I mean, as long as they don't get,
good luck.
Yeah, no, as long as they don't get any ideas, you know, Peter Shalulile only plays for Sundowns. He stays with us, stays with Namibia. Figure yourselves out. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We're going to keep that guy. Thank you, Arrie, for bringing us the news stories from South Africa.
Yes, a great day for everyone. Nice talking. Bye-bye. Bye.
A great day we shall have. Let's take a look at the weather predictions before we get into your economic news.
It's the Premier League, all on DStv. All the goals, clashes, and moments, all of Rashford, Salah and Saka.
Their start is getting better and better and better.
All in HD. Available on all these bouquets to choose from. To watch on all these devices, get DStv with an HD decoder, free installation plus 1 month compact for 1,549 Namibian dollars. It's the Premier League, all on DStv.
Getting into economic news at the Paris Peace Forum, former Chinese ambassador to the UK, Fu Ying, stated that China has no ambition to become leader of the world, but the US initiated strategic competition to prevent China from taking over. Have a look.
When you talk about China-US rising rivalry, I would like to say that China has been at the receiving end of the American-initiated strategic competition, and China feels that we have to fight back because the purpose of this competition with China is to prevent China from taking over. It's power politics. It's not because that China has a policy or China has done anything to challenge US leadership in the world. As I said, you want to be a leader, you need to provide. And China knows how much it can do. China has no intention to become a leader of the world. At least we don't think we have that kind of ambition or capability. But for US, that's not important. It's just because you've grown fast enough that you threaten to surpass the US.
Now, from the world's largest economy to Africa's largest economy, Nigeria's central bank will pull back from direct fiscal interventions and take more limited advisory roles in support of the government's economic growth agenda, Governor Oleyemi Cardoso said on Tuesday. The bank's current approach blurred the lines between monetary and fiscal policy, undermining its ability to effectively manage inflation and foreign reserves, Cardoso said in an email speech.
All right, let's head to the economic indicators just before Arrie Houggard returns with the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with tennis news first. It is the ATP finals, men's finals, still ongoing in Italy at the moment. Top 8 players in the world competing in that 2 groups of 4, and the top 2 in each group will go through to the final, or to the semi-finals, and then the finals. Still group stages at the moment, and a big result for Alexander Zverev. He's from Germany. He's number 7th seed in the lineup of 8. He beat number 2 seed Carlos Alcaraz in his group. He beat him by 6-7, 6-3 and 6-4. And Alexander Zverev of Germany, he's had previous success at the ATP finals, and he won that tournament in 2018 and 2021. Also in his group, it's Daniil Medvedev of Russia beat Andrei Rublev, also of Russia. He beat him by 6-4 and 6-2, and a good result for Daniil Medvedev. In the other group of the ATP finals, it is Novak Djokovic, number one seed. He had a good start. He had his first win of the tournament when he beat Holger Rune. So he's the player to beat probably in the ATP finals. It is Novak Djokovic, currently the world number one, and he also won the title 6 times previously. He's also the defending champion of the ATP finals. Continuing international sports news with cricket news, and it is South African captain Themba Bavuma that looks to be fit to play on Thursday. That is in the second semi-final of the ICC Cricket World Cup. That's the 50-over World Cup being played in India. The first semi-final will be New Zealand that play against India on Wednesday. And on Thursday, it will be South Africa playing against Australia. Themba Bavuma, they had a full training session. He had a hamstring challenge a few days ago, but he seems to be fit to be able to play on Thursday. Also, the fitness of Lungi Ngidi, the fast bowler, is being assessed. He had a foot injury, and it is not sure if he'll be able to play on Thursday. Also from the Australian side, it is players coming back as well. It is Mitchell Marsh that was away because of personal reasons, and he came back with a great innings against Bangladesh, scoring 177 unbeaten runs. So he's ready for Thursday's semi-final. Then also Glenn Maxwell, he rested the game against Bangladesh because against Afghanistan, he batted for the whole innings, almost the whole innings, and he scored 201 runs unbeaten, and he battled a lot with cramps. But he also indicated, or Australia indicated, that he will be fit for Thursday's important semi-final. And to conclude today's international sports news, some soccer news, and it is the Saudi Arabian League, the Pro League, that continue to try and sign high-profile players from the English Premier League. One of the players being targeted in the January transfer window is a Manchester United player, Jadon Sancho. He's 23 years old, and it is reportedly that Juventus is also interested in Sancho, and it is a Sancho that plays for England. He's an international player, and it is Manchester United that reportedly said that they're not ready to let him go, but there's a January transfer window, and the Saudi Arabian League has been known to give or to offer lots of money for English Premier League players, so we'll see how that develops. Also on the soccer front, it is Brazilian forward Neymar that is continuing to recover from a knee injury. It seems like he will still be out for at least 6 months. He had a very serious injury on his knee. He ruptured his anterior crucial ligaments and also his meniscus, and he had surgery, and that was in Brazil's World Cup qualifying game against Uruguay a few months ago. Uruguay won that game by 2-0. It is Al Ahly that signed Neymar in the Pro League. Al Ahly paid almost $100 million for him to come over, and because of injuries only played 5 games and will be injured for quite some while still. That's the international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. Let's head into the highlights from this morning's broadcast. Zimbabwe opposition party says activist found dead after abduction. Nigeria unions call for nationwide strike despite court order. DR Congo opposition leaders hold talks in South Africa. Trial resumes in Guinea after dramatic jailbreak raises concerns. In economic news, Nigeria's central bank sees refocus